Once we have all the scenes already animated, we are going to come to the composition assembly, and here we are going to bring the one we have just created, the one of the final scene. We are going to put it over here on top. I am also going to change the color, and we are going to put it right here in this part, which is where the audio began. Now we are going to preview the entire project, and we are going to see if we have to add any details, make corrections, adjust the timing of any layer. Well, we're going to see all that now.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his home in Seattle. Jeff's impulse was generated by the idea of creating an online bookstore, taking advantage of the growing potential of the internet. Initially, Bezos considered calling the company Cadabra, but his lawyer advised him to discard the name because it sounded too similar to the word corpse. With an initial investment of $10,000 from his own pocket and financial support from his parents, Bezos began developing the platform. He decided to name the company Amazon in reference to the Amazon River, the world's largest river. Despite initial misgivings, Bezos's relentless focus on the customer and his vision of an online store that offered everything laid the foundation for Amazon's gigantic growth.
Well, this looks perfect. Obviously, there are things that we can improve, that we are going to do now. But here it seems that two audios can be heard. So what we are going to do? Well, this composition, the final scene, we are going to put right on top of this audio layer to start at the same time. I'm going to enter this scene and right-click this audio layer. I'm going to convert it into a guide layer so that it can only be heard here and not in the main composition.
Despite initial doubts, the tireless approach of Kisses in the Despite Initial Doubts.
Okay. Another thing that doesn't convince me much is this transition, which is good. If we work on it a little, it can surely look very cool.
With an investment.
But it doesn't convince me, so I'm going to do the following. This adjustment layer, which is the one that contains the effect of theme and invert. Because I'm going to eliminate it, and I'm going to create another different transition. This T sound looks at the error of the L key from here, A.
The Cadabra company, but his lawyer.
And here, there is a little bit of time that remains silent in this section of here. Well, I am going to come to Edit, Split Layer. And in this here, key. L again, twice. And this audio. Well, I am going to cut it there, more or less. And I put it here, right next to the head over there.
La Cadabra, but your lawyer advises you.
Okay, I like it better. And now, as I said before, between this scene, that of Escena Cadabra and that of Jeff Padres, we are going to create here another type of transition. For now, we are going to do one thing. We select this audio. With the Control key pressed, we are also going to select this composition by Jeff Padres and the final scene. And we are going to advance it a little to put it right here, where this audio ends, well, more or less there.
Because it resembled the word corpse too much, with an initial investment of.
Okay, now here in the project panel, I am going to put the assets folder, and I am going to import this ink that I have brought additionally later. But all this that I am going to use, you are going to have in a folder. So that you can practice the course, I am going to bring this ink footage here to the assets folder, and I am going to put this below the 10 parent composition and I am going to adjust it. I'm gonna zoom in there, okay? Look, this is a one ink video, and we're going to use it as an alpha mate to create a transition between this scene and the next. Well, with the R key, I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to put it here 90°, and I'm also going to move it down so that the ink starts from this corner. There, as we can see, it starts from there. Okay, well, a little before this layer begins, I'm going to cut it right there, and I'm going to advance it here where this composition begins. I'm going to zoom in again to see the best. Okay, well, I'm going to put it there. Now this composition by Jeff Parents, we're going to leave these two alone to see what we have to do best. Mate alpha of ink, Rebel F key 4. If we see the transmate, and now with the Peewee we attach it to this layer. What happens now? We are not seeing anything because we also have to activate the invert mate box, and here change to UMA mate. Look, now it looks perfect. We're going to reactivate all the layers.
To Daver, with an initial investment of $10,000 from his.
What happens? For my taste, the ink is a little slow, and this character stays there for a long time. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to stand right here where it starts. Right-click time to activate time mapping and without moving the head. Well, Myrar has created a keyframe for me where this layer begins and another where it ends. But we are going to mark a keyframe right there where we have the head. We advance a little, and just at the moment in which the ink takes up all the space of the composition, which is more or less there, it is no longer seen there because we mark another keyframe. We put ourselves here in the first one, and we are going to count 40 forward, 10, 20, 30, 40, because we are going to move this keyframe right to this part so that the ink animation goes faster.
With an initial investment of $10,000, with an initial investment of $10.
It's much better what happens. I don't really like the flicker that makes this composition here either. So we are going to enter these keyframes. Which are those of the sky layer. I'm going to eliminate this dark one so that I don't do precisely this flicker. Alright then. I'll pick this, remove those, and input the composition from here, thinking standing. And these two layers, U key. Same thing here to prevent the flicker issue, so let's remove the keyframes. Now we just have that image of Jeff with a zombie look.
Let's see with an initial investment of $10,000.
And so she doesn't just stand there.
Corpse with an initial investment of $10,000.
Let's make another correction. We select all the nulls, key. Uy, here in the last one. This keyframe, we are going to put it here in the second 12. And right when he says the word corpse, that's where the dark sky layer begins.
The word corpse.
Right there, we are going to select the two keyframes. We come to the graphic editor, and the highest point of the animation, which is this, here is where it goes fastest. Well, we are going to put it right here. In the header, we select this manager, and more or less, we are going to leave it there. And the layer is from the sky, because we are going to put an effect called CC Repeat Tail. We expand the pixels in all directions, up and down also there. And once again, we are going to change it to a folk. And we come to the composition, assembly, to make a preview. Here I'm going to press the BI key here at the end.
Which sounded too much like the word corpse, with an initial investment of $10,000, okay?
Well, I like this transition much better than the one we had before. Also, look, here when this ink is revealing the video from behind, Jeff appears in the same position, and the truth is that we create a pretty cool transition here. Another thing we can do is put a tritone effect on this composition. We put it there and the midtones because we can put the color we want. I'm going to put these red ones around there. That of Ink Rebel and Jeff Padres. I'm going to change the color too. I'm going to paint them fuchsia at the same too. With Control D, I'm going to duplicate them and I'm going to put them over here. And these are green. Well, now to this copy to the one above here, well, more or less, let's see, 10/20/30 pictures later. We are going to cut it there, and the one with the ink, that is this. Look, we are going to move it right to that point, but we are going to remove the tritone effect from this one so that it now reveals the original image to us. Notice what comes behind this one.
Initial 10,000 of your own.
Okay, and the truth is that it looks pretty cool.
10,000 initial version of your own.
But hey, so that it doesn't come from the same place. I'm going to select these to see it better. Well, just the ink one so it doesn't come from the same place. I'm going to select Ink Rebel, right, click transform, vertical click. So it's coming this way. Okay, this layer of ink, we have to deactivate the eye. And now let's do another preview to see what the transition looks like.
Which bore too much resemblance to the term corpse, having initially invested $10,000 from his personal funds.
Okay, perfect what happened. The movement that Jeff makes here backwards, which then goes up again, it doesn't convince me much either. So let's get into the composition of Jeff Padres. We display all the keyframes of the nulls, and we are going to put ourselves here in the first null, in the last keyframe, or we select the null and delete it. Now we select these three, we put ourselves at the beginning of the timeline with the Alt key pressed, and we are going to pull it to the left until it is placed right there on the head. So he's just going to make this move up. All right, let's see now.
Which sounded too similar to the word corpse, with an initial investment of $10,000 from his own pocket and the financial support of his parents, which...
Well, from my perspective, it has significantly improved compared to the initial transition I wanted to make, including the glitch type. But if you prefer, we can keep the original. It really depends on personal taste. Okay, here in this composition, we're going to double click and the cardboard texture. Are we going to change the colors of this layout? If you want to put the same one as me, the code is this, 242424 well. And now the logo. We are going to remove the filling and we are going to make a mask. On the one hand, we are going to be left with only the symbol. There, with control of the EM key, and we put this mask in subtract, and on the other hand we are going to be left with the typography and the symbol. Well, we are going to put the film effect on the typography, and the color that I am going to put is this 00 def, that blue. Besides, we can keep adding details. We are going to come back to the same composition, and we are going to enter here the cardboard texture, of course, and here in the assets. From this layer called barcode, which is a label that is the typical label that comes on cardboard boxes, we are going to create a new composition. The first thing, I'm going to change the name. I'm going to leave you just the barcode, okay? And we're going to put this composition into your folder. And look at, it's a label. As I told you, that these are the typical ones that come in the delivery boxes. With right click, we are going to put a white solid, and we are going to pass it underneath. And that's it. We're not going to do anything else here. We come again to the composition assembly. Well, and what we are in is this cardboard texture. And here we are going to put this label. We can change his name too, okay? And are we going to put it on? Well, over here, over the garage, over there. We can modify the rotation a little so that it is not so perfect, more or less there or there, and each one can put it however they want. I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to assemble it, and I'm going to take a look to see what it looks like.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded the company Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his house in Seattle. This push from Jeff was good.
I'm going to open the cardboard texture here, and I think I'm going to leave this label like this. At 0, I'm going to make it a little smaller there. I think it will be perfect there. And here, when Jeff is in the garage, we are going to come to this composition, and we are going to add some details here. In the assets folder, we have the Amazon logo. Well, we are going to put it up here, and we are also going to convert it to 3D over there. We are going to display the keyframes of the nulls and, well, more or less on this part, we are going to select the layer from here of the garage with which we have formed this garage, which is this one called background. Okay, we unfold the position with Ctrl C, copy it, paste it here to the Ctrl V logo. There we have it. We have to rotate what happens because it has stayed with us. There horizontally, so we are going to put 90O here, and we are also going to make it smaller there and on the axis. And, well, I'm going to activate 2 views to see it better. This here is the bottom layer that we have right there. And this is the logo layer that's at the same depth on the Z-axis. As we can see, what I'm going to do is move it forward a little bit. A couple of pixels, 1 and 2 there. And now here on the axis. And, well, I'm going to move it up. I'm going to focus there. Well, of this Illustrator file, I'm only going to keep the logo symbol of the brand. So I select the pen tool and I'm going to cut it out there. I'm also going to put the film effect, and the color is the same as before. 242424, there it is. With Alt Control and the Home key, we center the anchor point. And now, yes, well, we are going to focus it more or less here on the back wall out there to see what it looks like. Okay, well, I like what happens in this part. I don't want it to be seen. I just want it to show up right here. When we are going to create the transition between this bookstore and this video here, so more or less there, when it is no longer seen in the composition, we select the logo and cut it in that part. Okay, great.
It is generated by the idea of creating an online bookstore, taking advantage of the growing.
I like it a lot. Come and let's continue. Here in this composition, we are also going to change the color here to the word Cadabra. So we are going to enter the text, and these two, we are going to put the same color as the logo that appears at the beginning, which is 00def. And the stroke that we have here, we are also going to put the same color as it is. 24, 24, and 24. I do all this so that the animation as a whole then has a graphic visual coherence. Here we can close compositions so as not to get involved. We are going to move forward here in the Cadabra scene, and I think we have this one almost ready. Okay, in this logo here that we have here, in this part, I am also going to put the fill effect and the color, the same 24, 24, and 24 there. And in this part, if we want, we can also put the label. That in fact we are going to open here to the project panel, to the compositions, and we are going to put the yellow color above here. We convert it to 3D. We select the background texture, which is this, and we display the Ctrl+C position. We copy it, and here we paste the position to this information label with Ctrl+V. Let's activate two views to verify that they are at the same depth on the z-axis. Look here, where we have the label and the background texture here. That is, they are at the same depth in Z, but since I want to separate it a little bit, well, here in Z with a couple of pixels enough. What happens to this label? I'm going to make it smaller. Over there. And I'm going to position it in that part. Come on, this looks spectacular. We now come here to the final scene. And here in this box, and in this part of the box, I want the Amazon logo to also appear. we come to the Assets folder. We put it over here and also change the color. We convert it to 3D, and we are going to do the same thing we have done before. The texture of the box, which is this key P, we display the position. With Control C, we copy it and paste it here to the Amazon logo. We have to rotate it 90°. Perfect. We are also going to add the film effect and color. The one before, 24, 24, and 24. I'm going to activate two views because I also want to separate it a little from the texture of the box so that it is not at the same depth. Okay, here we can see more clearly this layer of green here. It's the texture of the box, and the wolves is yellow. So that they are not at the same depth in Z, we are going to move it a little towards the front, but nothing. A couple of pixels or 3 there. And now if we zoom a lot, we can already see that they are separated from each other. Come on, great. And here's this last scene. I also want to put the barcode label here on this part. So we come here to the barcode compositions. We are going to put it there. We change the color and convert it to 3D key array here. The rotation, we put it in 90°. Now we have to check this label. It is at the same depth in Z as the cardboard texture as the one in the background key pi here. We see that it is at minus 3760. Well, we can do one thing, this value with Control C, we copy it, and here in both D key pi here in Z, we are going to copy that value. Okay, there we have it. But hey, for some reason, I don't know if it was when moving it, we don't have it in the same position. So I'm going to copy all the properties of the position. Control CI here, in Bank D, Control V. Now it has come back here, right where we have the background texture. But I am also going to separate it a couple of pixels there. 3, 4. It doesn't have to be exactly 2 either. And I'm going to move it to the left. I don't want this layer affected by the lights, so we're going to come here to Material Options and Accept Lights, deactivate it, and I'm going to make it a little bigger there, for example. I come back to Composition, Editing, and I'm going to preview again to see how it looks now.
In 1994, Jeff Bezos founded Amazon, which had its physical space in the garage of his home in Seattle. Jeff's impulse was generated by the idea of creating an online bookstore, taking advantage of the growing potential of the internet. Initially, Bezos considered calling the company Cadabra, but his lawyer advised him to discard the name because it sounded too similar to the word corpse. With an initial investment of $10,000 from his own pocket and financial support from his parents, Bezos began developing the platform. He decided to name the company Amazon in reference to the Amazon River, the world's largest river. Despite initial misgivings, Bezos's relentless focus on the customer and his vision of an online store that offered everything laid the foundation for Amazon's gigantic growth.